Hi guys, I hope you've enjoyed my videos today. I've done one for, there's a Bitcoin prediction, a Democratic candidate prediction, a prediction for Brexit and Boris. And what I'm going to do now is just a little bit more of a generalized chat about a topic. And I was thinking how so many of the slogans the left use are actually totally contradictory. And the other thing I want to lead on to that is to say why I think that when you look at the left's approach through all these slogans they use, it's very easy to see why the left are totally in league with big tech and big pharma. So that's kind of an outline of where I'm going with this. So I hope you'll enjoy it as usual. Keep it quite peppy, and on we go. So going back to the French Revolution, what was the war cry of the revolutionaries, right? It was liberté, égalité, fraternité. But do those things really go together at all? Because fraternity is all about collectivism, communitarianism. It's all about the group trumping the individual, where freedom, and to have true freedom and liberty, means that your rights as an individual must be respected and must supersede the rights of the group. So you can see why the left are always interested in creating groups in society, creating divisions, because it's all about your identity within the group, and then it's all about pushing for extra rights for that group, which you can see that's why the left's always piggybacking on minorities, because they need to use people's identity within the group. And it does actually encourage people to get involved in groups, because if you feel powerless as an individual, which you really shouldn't in a free society, but if you feel powerless, you're more likely to align yourself with a group so you can piggyback on the kind of power they are generating. And you can see the media play along with this in totally pushing the kind of voice or the rights of certain groups. Although I must add that the thing that perplexes me is there are two groups which just don't seem to feature. That's the disabled and the elderly, and very often there's an overlap between those two. They are not considered. They are not considered groups who need to have a voice, who need to have rights, who are oppressed in any way, yet I would say they are the two most vulnerable groups out there. It always stuck in my mind during the Oscar Pistorius trial. They had numerous psychologists that came and testified that the statistics worldwide is that the most discriminated against group, and the group that suffers the most violence against them worldwide, is the disabled. And yet how often do we ever hear about that group? And of course the elderly are very often disabled, are frail, are fragile, often have limited income, and yet those groups are totally marginalized. And I will be talking a little bit about that in my blog coming later today, which is the Saturn-Pluto conjunction and the financial meltdown and euthanasia. It's not euthanasia that I'm talking about with the normal spelling. It's youth, as in Y-O-U-T-H, anasia. And what I'm trying to say by that is the pushing of the rights of the young and the sidelining of the rights of the old. But just to come back to this liberty, equality, fraternity, if we're all equal, we should all have equal rights in any civilized society, in any decent society. But what the left seem to be interested in is they're unable to ascertain whether we have equal rights. They only can perceive that if the outcome is equal. They think if we have different outcomes, therefore there were different rights. So we can't have equality of outcome in a society, because that means an incredible amount of control. That means some people are going to have to be held back, stifled and suppressed, or penalized for being more productive, more creative, or more intelligent. And other people who frankly aren't up to the mark are going to have to be over-promoted. And what does that lead to? A catastrophic loss of productivity, which is why you see in all these communist countries, this massive decline in productivity. And that's why communism's aims has always been worldwide, because as soon as you've got, or where they want a closed society where they lock everyone in, because you can't have equality naturally unless it's a controlled system where everyone's locked in. Otherwise the most able people are going to escape to a free market country where there's no limit to what they can achieve from their potential, and you'll be left just with the people who are kind of below average and who need that. So there you go. That's why that whole phrase, those three words together, cannot coexist. The whole phrase is a lot of rubbish. It's like everything, all the slogans of the left that just do not stand up to scrutiny. The next one I find is that left are always going on about diversity, but is diversity something that really can coexist with cultural relativism? no, it can't. When they are talking about diversity, you know what they mean. They mean the optics. It means you look around and everyone sort of looks different sexually or in terms of their ethnic background, and they say, therefore, that is much better. Much better, it's great. But isn't diversity rather skin deep? Isn't what makes a person their inner qualities, like their courage, entrepreneurship, creativity, imagination, kindness, caring, philanthropy, imagination, ability to be pioneering, brave? Surely that is what makes people, and those qualities can exist within any person regardless of their sex, race, religion, etc. Therefore, the optics of what people look like on the surface should make absolutely no difference to the quality of a certain group, because it's the inequalities that count. If the left want to tell us that diversity makes everything better, then it must mean that cultural relativism can't exist, and they must be admitting that stereotypes are true, because then surely they're saying that people are innately different because they look different, and therefore it's good to have lots of different looking people or different sexes. So those things can't go together. It's a nonsense. If everyone is absolutely equal and has the same potential regardless of our biology, then if you have a boardroom with 10 women or a boardroom with 10 men, it should make, or any mix in between, should make absolutely no difference, should it? Because it's going on the inequalities. But no, the left tell us diversity is great. So can they make up their mind, please? Are we all different according to what we look like? Or are we all got different qualities inside that have nothing to do with what we look like or what our sex is? I just find those two things are totally contradictory. Lately, Jeremy Corbyn's slogan, opportunity for all, I find it such a vague statement. It's so abstract. It could mean anything. If someone, is struggling and you say, here's an opportunity to be a plumber, but he wants to be a rapper or a pop star or a footballer, does he necessarily want the opportunity to be a plumber? That's the thing. Opportunity is in the eye of the beholder. The state can't understand what opportunity represents to an individual, can they? Because everyone is different. And again, this alludes to this whole thing that the state make people. The state have to give you opportunity. The state have to make everything equal. Can you see here, all the slogans of the left are designed to put them in charge of your life. You can't have anything without them. Without them, there is no opportunity, there's no equality. They're there and they're going to provide all that for you. But that's not the way, most free enterprise societies thrive. It's by individuals creating opportunities. And I don't think they can always be created for people. And also what the left seem to leave out is they look at us all like a lump of clay that they are going to mold by giving us all these opportunities or making us equal. But they can't stop us making bad decisions. People make mistakes. It's part of life. People choose wrong paths in their life, and that leads them to land up in certain conundrums. And the state seems to not think of it that way. They seem to think as long as they've created these idyllic circumstances, everyone is going to thrive and fulfill their potential. But no, that's never going to happen, because first of all, we'll all fulfill our potential at a different point in life. Some may only fulfill it at 70 years old, someone may fulfill their potential at 16, depending on what path you take. So to think that there's going to be a measure that everyone has fulfilled their potential seems to me very unrealistic. How could you possibly measure it? How would you ever reach that bar? And the only way that could be reached is by living in an extremely structured, controlled society that has complexities over which not even the biggest mega computer could preside over. All a lot of nonsense. But again, all these theories about the state treating us like a blank slate. They seem to believe that it's all about nurture, not nature. So the left, like I say, they're very onto this. Everything is about nurture. That's why they like it when women go to work and put their kids in daycare and children go to school earlier, because the sooner they can get hold of the children, they can start molding them. Just like with Mao Zedong and the blank slate. They thought, give me a human being, any human being, and I will make that human being into whatever we want him to be or whatever he can be. Can you see here the denial of nature and the innate characteristics? Now, most of us would look at some flour, some sugar, some cocoa and an egg. Most of us would be looking at that and thinking chocolate cake. It's logical. But the left look at that and they think that can be a curry, a chocolate cake, a chicken korma, a Sunday roast. That's how they look at that. And that is why the left love big tech and big pharma, because big pharma are producing the technology to help people, change their sex, meddle with their genes, meddle with genes of plants, meddle with everything in nature, because the left deny God. They want to be God. They think they can step into that role and create the perfect planet. They don't look at anything as a given or an innate characteristic. They think they're going to give people opportunity, they're going to create equality, and they can create a totally fluid biology where no matter what innate characteristics and attributes you were born with, no, they will eventually devise ways for you either to deny them totally in your own imagination and live as if they don't exist, or be able to physically change them. And Ray Kurzweil and the top people in Silicon Valley, I think Ray Kurzweil, his mother passed away, he's got her frozen somewhere, and he's working on a technology that would bring her to life. This is how they think. And it's quite widely spoken about amongst big tech, about cyborgs and injecting these mega computers into people's bloodstream so that they can totally override your natural biology and turn the human into, a cyborg, a human computer, enhance all our abilities. There's a total denial here of nature, which is why Silicon Valley and big tech are totally on board with the left. Can you see that although they're very, very different in many ways, you would think the philosophy of being able to meddle in anything, to create anything, that nothing is sacred, and that everyone is that lump of clay that can be molded into anything, that's in common with them both. And that's why, in terms of regulations and what they're going to push in future, there will be no limits when those two come together, because they are ready to play God. They're totally in denial that anything is sacred. So you can let me know what you thought of that, and if you have any ideas, please guys, if you liked my broadcasts, please subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up. I upload sporadically, and a lot of my things are to do with predictions, but sometimes I can't hold myself back from making these comments, because it's kind of contextual to the things that we usually chat about. If you do follow me on Subscribestar, Patreon, or BitChute. All the links are below, and I've got loads of books on Amazon. I'd be absolutely delighted if you supported me by getting any of them on Amazon Prime or in paperback. Thanks guys, have a brilliant day and enjoy the summer.